First up is Vincent. Let's take a look in Maya. And from a quick look, the checkers are looking pretty even, and I'm not seeing any obvious distortion. Let's take a look. It's kind of hard to see with this checker background. So if I go into, I think it's turn off display image. There we go. And now I could look at, for example, the map there, and those are red just because he's scaled the face up. So, because you can see that the checkers on the face are smaller than the checkers on the body by a little bit. So, yeah, some big ones for eyebrows and mustache, hair. So, I mean, pretty straightforward. This is good. I don't see any issues. Even the buttons look like they're going to work perfectly. So, I don't see any issues. These are very well done UVs. Next up is Damien. You can see right here. So, yeah, I'm not seeing any real distorted areas right off the bat. This looks a little bit distorted up in here. So, we might want to take a look at that. It helps look at the smooth. Yeah, maybe in around here, and we got this sort of spiraling thing happening. So I have a feeling you might need another cut or two here. So maybe, yeah. I'm also surprised that there's not a line down the center here, but we'll want to maybe cut these in half. At least up to here. Let's take a look. Yeah. Yeah, oh, and there's some stuff going on up there, and then there's a lot of little pieces here. So anyways, let's cut that first of all. And by the way, you can see where you've cut if you go to display polygons, texture border edges, and it's very subtle, but you'll notice this line now is a little bit thicker than the other lines. I might go to shaded mode because the textures are, then you can see that line there. And then I'll just grab the UVs for all of these and unfold it again. And then if I see 6, so that weird kind of spiraling thing we had going on before here, and some of that distortion is gone now. So we've got some subtle issues here. I'm not too worried about that. This is looking a little wacky. Where's that? Right there? Well, probably live with that. No major things popping out here. I'm gonna hide this for a moment. We will just grab this shell, scale it up, and then oops, just lay these out again. Okay, and let's figure out what the heck is going on here. So maybe I'll just select shell and move that out. Normally if you select shell, it picks the whole thing, so I'm a little surprised to see it still attached to something. Where's that? So I think the first step here actually is, where did those things go? I can't find. Weird. Where's that one? Oh, look at that. Ah, okay. So I think what some of these odd problems are is that you have some looked like you had some weird kind of extrudes inside. Yeah, see that? I'm gonna make sure I'm face selection and shift double click here. See, you've got this like weird extruded edge that's pulled in there that's not doing anything. So I'm going to delete those faces. And that's what some of that weirdness was. Where did those other ones disappear to? So then, yeah, you've got like all these little teeny tiny pieces. I don't know. Just hitting F frame selected and looking for that. I wonder if that's more of the same kind of. Yep, it is. Just shift. Whoops. I'm trying to select this, shift double click to select the loop. It doesn't want to select the face loop here. So it's a bit hard to get to in here. So basically what you have is it looks like maybe you extruded an edge and like scaled it in. Hey, why didn't that delete all the way around? Did I not have it selected? Delete? Okay. So anyways, I might not hunt every single little thing down, but look for those weird little pieces. What's this guy? Oh, okay, that's the mouth interior. Although I'm not liking, by the way, that this is pinched shut here. This should be an opening there, not pinched shut behind the lips so much. So the lips should kind of, curl up into an open mouth rather than getting cinched down and then opening back up. So you might want to fix that model. And what is that? Oh, that's the ear. Okay. Yeah, it looks like maybe you can use a little more sculpting. Look, it looks a little squished. Kind of pull those out a little bit. Okay, so yes, a few things to fix on here. Kind of go through and check what all these things are, and make sure they make sense. I guess those are okay. But now I think we're in a little bit better shape once we're getting rid of those, and find what all those weird little things are and fix them. So I hit that mask thing. So to Control Shift H to show it again. I guess you cut along there. I would not. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Oh, are those just all the little bolts? Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't tend to combine these because here's why. Like, well, because it depends on how you want to paint it. Because the thing is you could paint. Let's see, there's a little bolts or something. You could paint one and then just apply it. If these were separated, I'm just going to mesh separate, which is going to screw up your UVs for that. But if you like textured one of these, and then you could just assign it to all of them, and or maybe have like a few variations. But the point is, if it's all part of one combined thing, I suppose the advantage is you could kind of paint across the whole thing, but probably these are just going to have the same texture map. So to me, that's easier. So I don't tend to combine stuff unless they're part of a seamless surface. So you might want to reconsider that. Okay. So some stuff to clean up, but mostly. Next up is Cindy. Let's take a look at this. I might turn on the checkers here. Okay. So yeah, at first quick glance, not seeing any big distortion problems. Maybe a little bit here, but it doesn't really seem like it'll pose a lot of issues. Looks alright. that is looking somewhat concerning there. Looks like there's a lot of stretching and pinching there. That's probably going to be okay. But this one, see what happens if we just lay these out again. Or unfold them, that is. Okay. Yeah, still got some stretching going on. So, I don't even know if you need this back face here. Because hopefully we won't ever see that. So, and then maybe you want to put just one cut somewhere in there, somewhat inconspicuously. Put that in there. And then lay it out again and see. Unfold it again, I mean. Yeah, so now it's looking a little bit more even. I think that's going to work a little better for you. And again, I mentioned a few times that you need additional detail in here if that's going to bend at all. Yeah, and otherwise, I think UV wise this looks all right. Next up is Tommy inking, and I tried opening your Maya file and it appears to be corrupted. Because what I'm seeing is obviously nothing like what you've turned in, and the UV map is just berserk here. So sometimes this happens if you have a lot of history on the character, but you don't. Oh, you do on some of the pieces. So just make sure you select all of everything and delete history, and then save that and turn it in again, and it'll probably be fine. But something's gone wrong somewhere here, and you also might want to make sure that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that one. Do about Maya. Make sure that you have Autodesk Maya 2015 SP6 means Service Pack 6, so make sure that's updated. And hopefully this won't happen. So either way, delete the history, turn it back in, but make sure you have the updated version of Maya. So I'll need to use this image to kind of sort out what's happening with the character. And some of it looks okay, like down here looks okay, but we're getting some weird stuff going on here, and then around this part of the face, some issues. And it's a little bit hard for me to tell what's going on here, but just from the still image, the flat image. So there's definitely some parts that are well UV mapped. Clearly these legs have some stretching going on here, like some big stretching, so you might need a few more cuts in the legs and unfold there again. And then take a look at this area. Maybe there's again maybe some more cuts and unfolding, but again it's a bit hard to tell without the Maya model to look at that's properly set up. So turn that one in again. So this is Huao's, and taking a look at this. So I can see from here this looks like a planar projection because when I look at the tops of those arms, I can see this sort of stretched backwards here. And when I go in here, yeah, this looks like. Also, it's not in that quadrant. It hasn't been sliced. And also the model, you need to go back to the video from the previous module because I talked about these arms are not going to work. You're going to need to reshape these. See, there's no detail here. So this model isn't done. So before UV mapping, you need to take a step back and fix this model. So look at my critique from the previous module. This isn't really properly UV mapped. It sort of looks like maybe it's not. I don't know, but certainly there's definitely overlapping UVs. So if I, for example, select these UVs on the back of the head, they're overlapping with the front of the head, and that means that anything I paint on the front will be painted on the back. These are stretching. It's just not right. It needs to be cut up and unfolded, and it hasn't been cut up and unfolded. So first, go back to the previous critique, take a look at what I talked about, working on the model, adding detail. These arms, kind of just look like strange blocks right now. And then so get the model fixed up and improve the detail on that, then go back and cut it up and unfold it for the UV maps. So this is Sungjiang. First we'll take a look at the tiger. Um, and this looks good. I can see what you've done here is that you have a perfectly symmetrical. Let me just select shell and pick one half, for example, and then move that over. So I can see that you have these two things perfectly symmetrical and directly on top of each other. And I would say that has its advantages and disadvantages, although I see you've taken that stuff out, which makes me wonder where those center line faces are. Oops, shell. What? Oh, is this all little tiny broken up pieces? That is probably not a good way to do this. I kind of get what you're doing here in that you're. Kind of makes me wonder. Oh, that stuff overlaps, but then where is like this here? I mean, it seems to me that none of that's on this side, which makes sense. But I guess I would expect to see those faces there. So that's very strange having all of these um, faces as separate little shells there. So not sure what's going on there. And anyways, what I was going to say was, and I can see you've sort of done the same with the back here. So yeah, weird. So if we do shell and select this, so we get this whole one, but then all of these guys are separate little separated shells. And then again, you're missing that center stuff, which I'm wondering where that is for that side. And I'm wondering if that's why we get this kind of jagged stuff going on there. So it's interesting. It's not how I would do it. I suppose the advantage is if you paint on one side, it's going to paint exactly a mirror image on the other side, which isn't, which might be okay, but it might look, especially along the center, it might look very kind of mirrored and kind of funny. So it's not how I work. It also means you have a seam directly down the center of the character, which is kind of the most obvious place for a seam. So not how I show how to UV map. It's not necessarily wrong, but yeah, I don't know why all those things are separated to their own shells and um, why. Yeah, and that's interesting too. So yeah, you can see some of the kind of funniness here. I mean, what you want is you want all these to be kind of squares, and I think all this jaggedness is kind of revealing some issues with the way you've UV mapped it. Um, so I think you're going to run into a little bit of trouble when you go to paint this guy. So I might say take a step back and UV it something more like the way I showed how to do it. Let's take a look at your other model. So yeah, this one's looking better. That looks all right. That I think this could use maybe a few more cuts because it is getting a little bit of distortion here and there. I mean, you might be all right with it. Um, yeah, and the body here is looking good, and we don't have that weird overlapping thing or the seam down the middle. So, I mean, you do have a seam on the side, but that's a little less apparent. So, yeah, I think this is better, and I think if you did the tiger more like this character, you'd be in better shape. Okay, now I have Brittany, and let's take a look. Um, So, no distortion really jumping out at me um, right at the start. You may want to make the face larger so you can paint more detail on that. Or maybe not that big. But then, take all these UVs and lay them out again. And now the face is bigger, so you can, have more resolution to paint some more detail in there. Or you could go even further with it than that, depending on what you'd like to do. So, yeah, I think this is looking pretty good. Just wondering, is that an ear or something? Yeah, that's fine. Good. Yeah. Not really seeing any sort of problem with him, so nice work.